and welcome back to Joe Talks Cars, and welcome to another video. In this video I just wanted to talk about the Porsche Tiptronic gearbox in general. So not specifically for the Cayman, but for any Porsche. Whether I would recommend one, whether I bought the right car, or whether I hate the gearbox and regret the car. So as I said, I'm just going to do this video today, just explaining why I bought the Tiptronic and whether I would recommend it as a gearbox. Because there's so much hate out there online about these gearboxes. Just look through my comments and you'll see them. Everyone is saying, why have you bought the Tiptronic? They're terrible, they don't compare to the manual. There's just so much around this. And I think there are some people out there that genuinely do need an automatic. And I think, so this video is for you. The thing I find really difficult about all the hate surrounding the Tiptronic gearbox is the fact they don't have the same hate for the PDK. Although the gearbox is a lot better, don't get me wrong, the PDK is still an automatic, as this is. So really it's not a driver's car either. It's just a lot quicker gearbox. So when I was looking to buy one of these cars, I wasn't specifically looking for the automatic. It was just what came up and I took it for a drive. Before I went for the test drive, I decided to do a bit of research and look at some reviews on the Tiptronic gearbox. And I didn't really find much online. Most of it was quite negative in the forums, and on YouTube it was kind of sparse. There wasn't really many videos out there. And there weren't any videos just showing the general speed of the gearbox, how quickly it gets through the gears. So I thought I'd do this video today and it'll help someone out. Give you an idea of what it's like to live with the Tiptronic, and I'll explain my thoughts and my reasons for buying it. So anyway, let's go for a quick drive and we'll have a little chat. So, the Tiptronic gearbox, probably one of Porsche's most hated options since the cars arrived. There's so much online, so much hate online about these gearboxes, saying they're too slow, they're just dim-witted. There's just so much negativity surrounding them. And when I went to buy this car, I didn't initially look for an automatic. I was looking for a manual car, but the automatic came up and I thought, well, I know everyone says they're really bad, but I think I'm going to be the judge of that. I'm going to take it for a drive. Some of my friends have recently bought automatic cars and I've been really envious of how easy they are to drive, to be honest. So, although I hadn't considered an automatic, I was quite up for test driving one. So once I took it out for a test drive, quickly realised there's not really a lot wrong with this gearbox. No, it's not the fastest gearbox going. It's nothing like a DSG or a PDK that you get in modern cars. It's not. You cannot compare it to that. This is a torque converter rather than a dual clutch system, so it's a totally different way of changing gear. But after taking people out in it, people that have DSG gearboxes and PDK, both have said it's really nice and smooth. It's really relaxing to drive, and for a day-to-day car, surely that's what you want. You want something that's quite nice and smooth to drive for when you're going to work and driving to the shops. You don't always necessarily need or want a manual car. The automatic does have a place, and it certainly has a place for me. So I'm just going to get the car out to some open roads and show you the speeds that it can change gear, just to give you an idea how fast or indeed slow it is. So why did I buy the Tiptronic rather than the manual? Well, like I said at the start of this video, I went looking for any Porsche Cayman. All I knew is I wanted the Cayman S 987, but I wasn't really sure whether I wanted the manual or the automatic. The automatic was just one that came up in the right price bracket. It was the right spec. In fact, it was the perfect spec. So I thought, rather than disregard it just on the reviews online, I thought I'll just give this a go myself. Took it out on a test drive and immediately saw the benefits of having an auto, the easy way that it drives, and just the convenience of it. I spend a lot of time stuck in traffic and just commuting in this car. I wouldn't say it's my daily driver because I do have a Volkswagen Golf GTI as my daily driver, but I do use it a lot and I do commute in it. So when you're stuck in traffic and you're driving long distances, you do tend to wonder why there is a need to change gear. I think automatic cars just lend themselves beautifully to being used every single day, and that's exactly what I wanted to do with this. There is a common misconception online about how slow the gearbox is, how it's not responsive to pressing the buttons, when that's just not true. Although it's not at PDK or DSG standards, there's nothing wrong with this gearbox and it really does pick up really nicely. So the Tiptronic is a funny kind of gearbox. It more or less learns how you drive. So if you drive it really steady, the gear changes, it'll sort of race through the gears, it'll get up to a high gear as fast as possible, and the gear changes are very smooth. It won't really hang on to the gears at all. But one heavy press of the accelerator, the car realises, and as you can see, was a little hesitation, and I'm not saying this is instantaneous response because it isn't, but it's more than adequate, and that's just in full automatic mode. You can put the lever straight over into manual, which I'll do once we get onto the straights, and I'll just cycle through the gears and you can just watch and listen to how quick it is. And I'll say when I've pressed a gear, so that you'll know I've pressed it and the gear is then called up, so you can get an idea of how quick or indeed slow this gearbox is. Like I said, do not expect PDK levels of changing, but it's more than adequate for what I use it for, and I think you'll agree it's probably as fast as most people can change gear. It's certainly as fast as what I can change gear. So although you can put the car into manual, I very rarely use it. The car is pretty much permanently in drive, and I don't use the manual function, but it's really nice to have if you just want to kick down a few gears to do a swift overtake. So what I'll do is I'll put the car into manual as we're coming up to this roundabout. The car is now in second gear, which is why it sets off him. And I'll accelerate really hard, and I'm changing gear now. And again, as you can see, it's not instant, but it's not super slow. And the car makes beautiful noise. Downshifts are just the same. We'll just come over this roundabout and we'll repeat. So as you accelerate, so really hard in third gear now. I'm going to get 6,000 revs and change up. Change up again. Anyone that drives a Porsche will know what that beep meant. Oh, with changing down a gear, so we're going 60-ish. I'm going to drop it down from 5th to 4th. So it called up 4th pretty quick then, and now into 3rd. And I'm not going to drop it in 2nd because it'll just scream its head off. And it will just hang on to the gears, so this car will not attempt to change up. In its manual mode, it will just stay in that gear. So same as before, 6,000 revs, change gear. And again. And now it's getting into sort of license banning territory, so I'm going to back it off. So, as you can see, the gearbox is not really super fast, but it's very smooth. You'll notice I didn't sort of jerk around, it just keeps pulling. It's really nice. It's only a 5-speed, and that's something worth bearing in mind. It's something I didn't actually realise. I didn't really do my research on the Tiptronic, so until I got in the car I didn't realise it was only 5-speed. It's not really a massive issue though. These gears are so long, you sort of don't need all these extra gears. I'm sure with an extra gear you would get better fuel economy, but fuel economy was really low on my priority list, so that really didn't bother me. So would I recommend a Tiptronic gearbox over a manual? Well, there are certain circumstances when I would recommend a Tiptronic over a manual for sure. You just need to think about how you use the car on a daily basis, and I've said this before in previous videos, but if you don't track the car, and you just drive to work and back again and to the shops and just do general driving in it, and you do quite a bit of long distance as well, if you're not the type of person that's likely to track it, then I really do think it's worth considering. It does make the driving experience less sporty because there's less to do. You don't have to change gear, of course, but it adds something different. While the car is changing gear for you, you can concentrate on other things. You can concentrate on the amazing feel that the car has through the steering wheel and the amazing brakes and just the way it holds the road. You can focus on all different things that you can't do in a manual because you're concentrating on what gear to pick. One of the most glorious things about the manual Cayman is just the downshifting, and you can rev match it, heel and toe downshifts, and it is fantastic. And that's the only downside I would say to this. You don't get that lovely blip of the throttle as you change down a gear. On a fast piece of road, it's more than adequate. On a track, for sure, you'd want the manual. I would choose the manual if I was to regularly track this car, but for me, it's the automatic, and I would do it again. I would buy it again. I would buy another Porsche Tiptronic, and that says a lot. People will be thinking I've made a mistake and I've bought the wrong car and I shouldn't have bought the automatic, and I probably regret it, and I really don't. And like I said, I like it so much, in fact, I would buy another Porsche Tiptronic. It really wouldn't put me off. One huge advantage of the Porsche Tiptronic gearbox is its reliability. The manual gearbox is hugely reliable, but they do have shifter cable issues, so the shifter cables can snap, and it's not the most expensive job, but it does leave you stranded. This doesn't have any of those faults. And the gearbox itself is just super, super reliable. It's a Mercedes-derived gearbox. It's been tried and tested, and it's just a brilliant gearbox. One thing I noticed when buying this car was that they don't often get serviced, so if you are looking at a Tiptronic on any Porsche, just make sure that it's either had a service or you plan to do one. The oil just never gets changed, and it can't do the gearboxes any good. It's one of the first things I had done on this car when I bought it was the gearbox oil, and they said they believed it probably hadn't been done since the car had been rolled out of the factory, so it was definitely overdue changing. So that is just something to bear in mind. So the upsides of a Porsche Tiptronic would be, for me, just the ease of driving it through traffic, and general day-to-day driving use of the car. It just suits it perfectly. Like I said before, it allows you to concentrate on the other brilliant things about the car that you otherwise would be focused on changing gear. You can concentrate on the really, really nice things about the car, such as its steering feel and its brakes and just everything about it that makes a Porsche so brilliant. Take away the gear changing, and either you remove a fun factor from the car, and you remove a very important thing to a lot of Porsche enthusiasts. You get to experience the car in a totally different way. The downsides to it would be if you were to track the car. If you're the type of person to track it, I would say you really do probably need to steer clear and go for the manual. It's not that you can't track it, it's just you are going to have more fun in a manual and you are going to be quicker in a manual. The fuel economy is worse in the Tiptronic. You probably lose 1 or 2 mpg by having it. And if you read stats online, it is a slower car than the manual. How true that is, I don't know. One day I would like to get it out into a drag strip and really find out the sort of 0 to 60 times top speeds and just benchmark it against some other cars. I think it'd be really interesting to see how well it fared. So on balance, yes, I would recommend the Porsche Tiptronic gearbox. I wouldn't hesitate in buying another one. And if you're like I said, if you're the type of person that doesn't want to track it, just wants to use it as their everyday car, or even occasional car, then I'd say go for it. But above all, what you mustn't do is go onto forums and listen to everyone in the comments that says the car is totally useless and believe them. You need to take one out for a test drive and make your own mind up, because that's exactly what I did. So anyway, hope you enjoyed this video. If you have, if you can give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already, for plenty more videos to come, especially on my Porsche Cayman S. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time.